Welcome back if you've been here before. If not, thanks for joining us. Today's book is going to be Chosen, the Warrior Chronicles, Book 1 Unabridged by K.F. Breene and narrated by Caitlin Davies. I remember thinking as I started this book that I should have been taking notes. And there's just so much happening in so many different perspectives. This book actually has a narrator, so there's no first person speaking or anything. I'm really not a fan of books like that, but once it gets started, if it's something interesting, then I can forget about it as I go. It's kind of a fantasy dystopian story, and the main character is, I try to do these reviews without spoilers, but the main character has special powers, and in the beginning it kind of shows what she can do, and then there's kind of a 20-year leap, and then we're brought to her kind of marching through the woods trying to stay quiet and stay away from everybody because she thinks everybody is after her, so to speak. Kind of like Entangled, where she thinks, oh, everybody knows about my hair, and they're here because they're going to cut my hair and use the magic. It's kind of something like that. Not as strong, but she ended up not having food, lost some provisions along the way, and a small group of cadets with their commander are kind of camping nearby and end up finding her passed out. So they take her to their city and have them see her doctor and go through a bunch of questions. She manipulates their minds. She wants out of there, but she ends up kind of getting sucked in and helping their captain, which is the head up guy, and then helping with the commander and all the different things that teaching the boys or the cadets to do. So this is a long book. I'd say it mostly gets into the story fast. As writing goes, the writer has definitely I would say lengthened the book, but also gave it more of a realistic feel as you're reading it. There are a lot of adjectives and a lot of unnecessary thoughts about the main character that she has, and she just goes into a great deal of details Some relevant, some not relevant. They become a little bit more relevant as you go through the book, because so much happens. There's the main idea, the plot, but there's like 5 other things going on at the same time. And the writer does a good job eventually separating them all out. And certain ones get resolved little by little by little. Certain people you don't like at the beginning, certain people you do like. Later on, there are certain people you don't like that you did like, and kind of vice versa. But there is a plot, kind of this main plot, and everything she's going through in order to get to that is all these little plots within the main goal. This is a series of, I think I saw so far, I think there's 5 books on my Audible. It might be more than that. But I wanted to move on to the second one, so I'm doing this one now. Sorry, I just woke up from a nap, so my voice is hoarse, my hair is a mess, and I have no makeup on. But I wanted to get this review out of the way so I can start that book, or the second book, but I didn't want to forget what was in what book. So, most of the characters are fairly developed, or develop along as the story goes. As far as content, I actually enjoyed the book, but the narrator part kind of bummed me out, like at the beginning. I really don't like listening to the books of someone telling me the story of this lady and what she was thinking. I would rather, the guy be doing the thinking and then say what he's going to say. Or the girl be doing the thinking and she says what she's going to say. I think the writer chose to have a narrator do this, though, is because there's so many characters, important characters, twists and turns, and different things that can be revealed. Overall, I would give this book a 4. Like I said, I don't like the narrating in general, but somehow, eventually, she brought me into the book. And I do highly recommend it. Remember, it's a fantasy dystopian kind of story. And there's like magic involved, and cities and nations, different kind of government setups than what we have. Trying to think if there's the main character is driven by a lot of things. Some things she was brought up as a child believing, the loss of loved ones. She's a very strong, independent woman who speaks her mind. So I want to get to the second book now and see if she continues her journey and if it's still going to go in her favor, at least so far. So, I liked the book. I did. It's a long book, but I found it intriguing. It's the style kind of style book that I like to read, with the fantasy. And there's not like a huge a love triangle type thing, or anything. There's indications of some people's feelings, but nothing is ever brought out straight right and clean cut, and declamations. God, I'm having my tongue twisted since I woke up. Of love in this story. A lot of trust is gained, because at the beginning there's a lot of disbelief, and it was made hard for her. She ends up in the hospital unit quite often, and some of those vulnerable times she ends up little by little spilling who she really is, because her main goal was to get her stuff, get out of there, continue on her journey, which she thought that she's meant for. And at the end, it kind of leaves you thinking, who's meant for that in that world? So, anyways, I would recommend The Chosen to anyone that would ask. And I want to continue with the series, and I will let you know how the second book goes. But you might be pretty surprised, the first book, if you have the same kind of taste as me. So, hopefully you read it and you enjoy it. Until next time, keep reading.